Hey guys, I hope you are doing fantastic learning from home so far. This is just going to be a short video going through some problems from a Unit 1 review. So I would definitely do this on your own first and then check out the video to answer any questions you had or to make sure that you were doing things correctly. So the first one is going to be one of those literal equations problems. It's going to have letters and we're going to have to solve for t. So solving for t just means that we want t by itself. And right now, as you can see, t is in the denominator. So we want to first get t out of the denominator. So d is being divided by t. You undo division by multiplying. So we're going to multiply by t on both sides. And that's going to get rid of our t there. So then we're going to end up with t times r. And remember, you can just put them right next to each other. Equals d. Okay, and remember we're trying to get t by itself, so we want to see what is being done to t right now. Right now we're multiplying by r, so we need to undo that. We need to do the opposite of multiplying by r. So we're going to divide by r, and what we do to one side we must do to the other. If you divide r by r, it just becomes 1. So then we're going to get t equals d divided by r. So you should have gotten choice C. Looks like we have another literal equation. We want to solve for a this time though, so we're going to solve for a. And we want to figure out what's being done to a. So right now, being done, it looks like we are adding a 4b. And we are multiplying by 7. Remember, you always want to do reverse PEMDAS, so we're going to add and subtract anything we can first. We're working backwards. So we've got W equals 7A plus 4B. Okay, and we're doing reverse PEMDAS. So we're going to do add and subtract first, right? We're going to subtract 4B on both sides. And w and 4b, or negative 4b, are not like terms, so we cannot combine them. It's just w minus 4b equals 7a. Okay, and we're still trying to get a by itself. So we're going to try to undo that multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division, and that's our next step, is multiplication and division. So we're going to divide by 7 on both sides. Again, 7 divided by 7. Is just going to give us 1a. Okay, so then we get w minus 4b over 7 equals a. And remember, we're solving for a, so once a is by itself, we are good to go. So that looks like it should be answer choice a. Oh, sorry, my bad. W minus 4b over 7. Be careful. So it should be C. All right, our next one is a word problem. I'm going to work over in this box beside that problem, and then I'll move it over at the end. Sorry, those are the puppies. Nala! Shh. Nala! Nala! Okay. So we're talking about John. John has a rectangle and a square. He says the length of his rectangle is 5 less than the width. Okay, so if we're talking about the length, let's say our length is going to be, well, it says x is going to be our width. So we're going to say, well, x is the width. And what do you want to use? Let's use L for our length. Okay, so our length, it already tells us, since the length of a rectangle is 5 less than the width. So we're going to say our width is x, it's going to be x minus 5. Okay, and then our width is just, he already told us our width is just x. So we've got x and x minus 5. And we want to find the combined area of his rectangle and his square. So for the rectangle, we can go ahead and figure that out. We know that area equals length times width. So I'm going to take my length, and I'm going to take my width, and I'm going to multiply them together. So I've got A equals my width times my length, and we're going to want to distribute that. So area is going to equal, for a rectangle, I'm going to make that, for a rectangle, our area is going to be x squared minus 5x. So that is the area of our rectangle. Well, now we need to find the area of our square. So this says the sides of our square are the same as the length of the rectangle. So each side of our square is going to be x minus 5. Okay, if you think about a square, that means every single side is x minus 5. And you find the area of a square the same way. You're going to do side times, or side squared. That can also be length times width. So we're going to end up doing x minus 5 times x minus 5. So our area of the square equals x minus 5 times x minus 5. Okay, and guys, we have not learned how to FOIL yet, but this is just like distributing. We're going to want to make sure that each term in the parentheses gets multiplied by the other term in the parentheses. So I'm going to, I'll draw those arrows again. So I'm going to say x times x gives me x squared. X times negative 5 gives me negative 5x. Okay, so we distributed to both of those parentheses terms. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do negative 5 times x and negative 5 times negative 5, which will give us positive 25. And so that's going to be our area of the square. It's getting kind of messy. And now we just need to combine those two areas, because remember, John wants to find his combined area of his square and his rectangle. So I am going to add those like terms. So I've got a x squared and x squared. Remember, there's an imaginary 1 right there. So we're going to combine those, and it's going to give us 2x squared. Okay. I'm also going to combine my x terms because they have the same letter and the same exponent. So I've got negative 5x and another negative 5x and then one more negative 5x, which is going to give us negative 15x. And then we have a constant term, or remember that term without a letter beside it. It's going to be positive 25. So our combined area is going to be 2x squared minus 15x plus 25, or A. So go ahead and get that down. I'm going to move it out of the way so that we can do our next problem. Maybe. We'll just we'll put that right there. Okay, next problem, another word problem. The length of a rectangle is 5 inches less than twice its width. So we're talking about the length of a rectangle. We'll say L equals length. And it's 5 inches less than twice its width. Well, twice its width tells us that we're going to say 2 times our width. And then 5 inches less than that should tell us that we're subtracting 5. Okay, so if the rectangle has a perimeter, let's go ahead and draw a picture. Okay, so we know that the length is 2w minus 5. The width is just the width. And we know that all of those sides added together is going to equal 80 inches. Okay, because if you want to find perimeter, you're adding all the sides up. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to set up an equation with everything that we know. So I know that we've got our length, and that's going to be twice. We're adding it twice because we have 2 lengths. So we can either add those or we can multiply one of those by 2. So I'm going to say that I've got 2w minus 5 2w minus 5 plus w all equals 80. Okay, and then we're just going to combine like terms, simplify as much as possible. So we've got our w's, we've got 4w there, plus 2 more is going to be 6w. And we've got our constants, our 2 negative 5s, so that's going to be negative 10. And that equals 80. And we're just going to keep on solving to solve for w, so we're going to add 10. 6w equals 90. And if we want to solve for w, we are just going to have to undo what's being done. So we're multiplying. We're going to have to divide by 6. So w is going to equal 15. Now we're not done yet. That just tells us what w equals. Okay, if you want to solve for your length, we're going to have to plug that back into our original equation for length. So I'm going to say length equals 2 times our new value that we just figured out. Our width is 15 minus 5. So we've got length equals 2 times 15, which is 30, minus 5. So our length is going to be 25. And that should be enough information. So it says we wanted to find the length and the width. Well, our width is 15, our length is 25. Alright, moving on. If we simplify this equation, so fractions are kind of scary for some of us, but we should not be scared. Okay, so remember, if you're multiplying by a fraction, you are going to multiply by the top number, divide by the bottom number. So if I've got this expression, let's go ahead and rewrite it. Okay, I'm going to take it one set of parentheses at a time. So I'm going to take this negative 1/3, and I'm going to distribute it to each term in the parentheses. So I'm going to say, what is my top number? Well, here my top number is negative 1 times 18x is going to be negative 18x. And then I'm going to divide that by the bottom number, 3. So negative 18x divided by 3, negative 6x. Do the same thing for the next one. Multiply by the top number, divide by the bottom. So negative 1 times negative 9 gives me positive 9 divided by 3, which simplifies to positive 3. Okay, so we're done with that set of parentheses. We're going to do the next one. So I'm going to say multiply by the top number. So I've got negative 2 times 6x is negative 12x. Divide by the bottom number is 3. So if we take negative 12x divided by 3, we get negative 4x. Gonna keep on going. We got negative 2/3 times 36. So negative 2 times 36 is going to be negative 72. And then if we divide by 3, we end up with negative 24. Okay, then we want to check and see if we can simplify any more, if we can combine any more like terms. So we've got negative 6x and negative 4x. Those have the same letter and the same exponent, so we can combine them. We get negative 10x. Then we can take our constants and combine them, and we're going to get negative 21. So make sure you're being very careful with negatives. I like to think of this negative 24 as a cold number. So if it's like negative 24 degrees outside, and then we add positive 3 to it, it's going to get a little less cold, a little warmer. So that's that one. And then the last one on the inactive part of this, we want to solve for the missing piece. So for the missing piece, we want to treat this question mark like a variable. So let's pretend that's like x, and we just need to undo everything that's being done to that question mark. So right now we are subtracting 12 from the question mark. So we're then going to add 12 to get rid of it and put it on the other side. Same thing for the negative 7x. It's being subtracted, so we're going to add it over. So I'm going to add 7x on both sides. I'm going to add 12 on both sides, and notice how I'm lining that up with like terms. So I've got 12x plus 7x is going to give us 19x. Okay, because those are like terms that we can combine. And then our constants, we've got negative 22 plus 12. It's going to get less negative, so we're going to have negative 10. And that is answer choice D. Awesome.